The rain turned the city streets into black mirrors, reflecting neon signs and traffic lights in streaks of bleeding color. My boots splashed through shallow puddles as I hurried down the sidewalk, laptop bag clutched tight against my ribs like it could shield me from what was coming. I'd been working late at the independent news site's office, chasing down one more source, one more document that might make my corruption story airtight. 3 months of investigation, and I still didn't have enough to publish. Not enough to protect myself from what Marcus would do when the truth came out. The street should have been busy at 9 p.m., but the downpour had driven most people inside. That isolation made my pulse quicken. I'd learned to fear empty spaces, moments when witnesses disappeared, and it was just his word against mine. I kept my head down, counting blocks. For more to the subway station. Then I could vanish underground, lose myself in the crowds, make it back to the friend's apartment where I'd been sleeping on the couch for the past 2 weeks since Marcus froze my accounts. For blocks. I could manage that. Alina. The voice cut through the rain's white noise, sharp as broken glass. My lungs seized. That familiar baritone with its edge of barely controlled anger, the tone that had started as disappointment, evolved into criticism, and finally hardened into something darker. I didn't turn around. Maybe if I kept walking, he'd think he was mistaken. Maybe the rain would obscure me enough that he'd let me go. Alina, stop right there. Footsteps behind me, deliberate and unhurried. The confidence of someone who knew I had nowhere to run. My throat tightened as I walked faster, heels clicking against wet pavement in a frantic rhythm. 3 blocks. Just 3 more blocks. I said stop. Don't make me use my badge. His hand clamped on my arm, spinning me around with practiced force. My laptop bag swung wide, nearly slipping from my grip. Marcus looked exactly as he had 8 months ago when I'd finally broken free, sharp jawline, dark hair dampened by rain, gray eyes that had once seemed protective but now just looked predatory. He wore his detective's badge clipped to his belt, visible and threatening. His leather jacket gleamed with rainwater, and the familiar scent of his cologne mixed with wet asphalt made my stomach turn. I need to get home, I said, proud that my voice only wavered slightly. Let me go. Let you go. His laugh was cold, bitter. Like you let me go? Just disappeared one day, blocked my number, moved without telling me where. We were building something together, Alina. We were never building anything. I tried to step back, but his grip tightened. I told you why I left. The message I sent. Your message. He spat the word like it tasted foul. 2 years together, and you end it with a text. Do you know how that made me look? How did the other detectives react? How did my captain ask if I had control issues when you filed that complaint? The thing about Marcus was that everything always circled back to him, to his reputation, to his career, to how things affected his standing at the precinct. I'd spent 2 years trying to shape myself into the perfect girlfriend for a cop, biting my tongue when he checked my phone, smiling through his questions about where I'd been and who I'd seen. The day I'd moved into that cramped studio apartment with just a suitcase and my laptop had been the first time I'd breathed freely in months. I'm sorry you were hurt, I said, aiming for calm despite my hammering heart. But I couldn't stay. You know why. What I know is that you owe me answers. Real ones, face to face. His hand moved from my arm to my wrist. Not hard enough to bruise, never hard enough to leave evidence. Marcus was too smart, too trained for that. But firm enough to communicate that I wasn't leaving until he allowed it. And then I find out you've been asking questions. Talking to people about me. About the precinct. My blood went cold. He knew. Somehow he discovered I was investigating the corruption network, that I had planted evidence, falsified reports, and protection rackets. That his name appeared in files I'd been building. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. His fingers tightened, and this time it hurt. I've got friends, Alina. People who tell me things. You've been digging where you shouldn't, and that ends tonight. My vision narrowed, the rain-soaked street around us fading as my focus tunneled to his hand on my wrist, to the familiar sensation of being controlled. This was how it had always been: his needs, his authority, his way disguised as protection. I'd promised myself never again. Never again would I let someone cage me with false concern. Let go of me. The words came out stronger than I expected, sharp enough that a man walking past with an umbrella glanced our way. Marcus's expression shifted, his grip loosening slightly but not releasing. We're making a scene, Alina. You hate scenes. My car's around the corner. We'll sit, talk like adults, and maybe I'll forget about this little investigation of yours. I don't want to talk. Too bad. His fingers tightened again, and now I felt his other hand reaching for the cuffs on his belt. You don't get to just walk away from me and then try to destroy my career without consequences. You're coming with me, voluntarily or otherwise. Behind him, through the rain-blurred intersection, I saw the flash of red and blue lights. A police car, unmarked but with lights on the dash, was stopped at the traffic signal about 30 feet away. The driver's side faced away from us, the car idling as rain hammered its roof. Salvation. Authority. Help. My heart leapt. If I could reach that car, if I could get to another officer before Marcus fabricated some excuse to arrest me, I might survive this night. Marcus's hand was moving to his radio now, probably to call for backup, to make this official. In seconds I'd be in cuffs, in a squad car, taken to a station full of his friends where my word meant nothing. The traffic light turned green. The police car's brake lights glowed red, ready to drive away. Now or never. I jerked my arm free with a sudden twist, muscle memory from the self-defense class I'd taken after leaving Marcus. He stumbled back, surprised, and I ran. Not toward the subway. Toward the police car. My boots pounded against wet pavement, rain slicing into my face as I sprinted across the intersection. Behind me, Marcus shouted something, but the words dissolved in the downpour. The police car started to roll forward and panic gave me speed. I reached it in seconds, yanking the rear passenger door open and throwing myself inside. Please, I gasped, slamming the door behind me. Please help me. That man, the detective, he's trying to. The words died in my throat. The man in the driver's seat turned to look at me with calm, calculating eyes. Dark hair styled with precision, a tailored suit that was far too expensive for any police officer, and an expression of mild surprise that transformed into something far more dangerous: assessment. This wasn't a cop. The interior of the car was wrong. No laptop mount, no radio equipment, no partition. Just leather seats and the faint scent of expensive cologne. Through the rear window, I saw Marcus running toward us, his badge now in his hand, his face twisted with rage. The man in the driver's seat followed my gaze, took in Marcus, then looked back at me with dark eyes that revealed nothing. Interesting, he said, his voice smooth and terrifyingly calm. Tell me, does your detective friend know you just got into a stolen police vehicle? My stomach dropped through the floor. What? He smiled then, a slight curve of lips that didn't reach his eyes, and reached across to lock all the doors with a soft click that sounded like a cell door closing. Seatbelt, he said. We're leaving. The engine roared. Marcus's shout cut through the rain, muffled by glass and distance. And as the car accelerated into the night with me trapped inside, I realized I'd just escaped one predator by throwing myself into the territory of something far more dangerous. The man glanced at me in the rearview mirror, those dark eyes catching the glow of streetlights as we sped through rain-slicked streets. My name is Harvey Brown, he said conversationally, like we were meeting at a cocktail party instead of in a stolen police car with sirens beginning to wail in the distance. And I think you and I need to have a conversation about Marcus Kane. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Could only grip the door handle and watch the city blur past, each block taking me further from the danger I knew and deeper into a nightmare I was only beginning to understand. The apartment building's security light flickered as I fumbled with my keys, my hands still shaking from the 15-minute subway ride where I'd convinced myself I wasn't being followed. Sarah's third-floor walk-up had become my sanctuary these past 2 weeks, the only address Marcus didn't know. The only place I could sleep without waking at every sound. I'd almost made it inside when the car door slammed behind me. "Rough night, Alina?" I froze, key half inserted in the lock. Marcus leaned against a black sedan parked directly in front of the building, arms crossed, that badge clipped prominently to his belt where the streetlight would catch it. How long had he been waiting? How did he find me? "You need to leave." I forced the words out steady, even as my pulse hammered. "I'm parked legally. Public street." He pushed off the car, closing the distance between us with measured steps. "Just wanted to check on you. Make sure you're staying out of trouble." A young couple approached on the sidewalk, their laughter dying as they noticed Marcus's badge, the way he stood too close to me. The woman's eyes met mine briefly, concern flickering there, but her boyfriend pulled her past us, heads down. No one challenged a police detective at night. No one wanted that kind of attention. "See that?" Marcus gestured at their retreating backs. "People trust the badge. They see it, and they know I'm one of the good guys." "You need to leave," I repeated, my back pressed against the door. "Not until we talk about your little hobby." He pulled out his phone, swiping through screens with deliberate casualness. "Got a call today from a friend at City Hall. Said a journalist's been requesting records. Financial disclosures. Arrest reports. Making a lot of noise about police conduct." His eyes lifted to mine. "Wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?" My mouth went dry. I'd been so careful, using encrypted emails, meeting sources in public places, never mentioning Marcus by name in my inquiries. "I'm a journalist. I investigate stories. You're a blogger with a laptop and delusions of grandeur." His voice hardened. "And you're about to become a suspect in an ongoing investigation unless you're very careful." "Suspect in what?" "Don't know yet. Might be theft. Might be harassment. Might be interfering with police operations." He stepped closer, and I could smell coffee on his breath. "See, the thing about investigations is they're flexible. Evidence appears. Witnesses remember things differently. A good detective can build a case out of almost anything." My keys dug into my palm. "You're threatening me. I'm warning you." His hand moved his radio. "Because next time we have this conversation, it'll be in an interrogation room. And that friend whose couch you're sleeping on? She's got a record, doesn't she? Possession charge from college. Might be worth looking into whether she's really reformed." The door behind me opened suddenly. Sarah stood there, phone in hand, camera pointed directly at Marcus. "I'm recording," she said, her voice shaking but determined. "And I've already sent it to 3 people. Marcus's expression didn't change, but something cold flashed in his eyes. He stepped back, hands raised in mock surrender. "Just checking on an old friend." He smiled at Sarah's camera. "Detective Marcus Kane, badge number 4739. Have a good night, ladies." He walked to his car with unhurried confidence, but before getting in, he looked back at me. "Clock's ticking, Alina. Better decide which story you want to tell, yours or the one I'll tell for you." The engine started. The car pulled away. And I stood there shaking, knowing that everything had just accelerated in a direction I couldn't control. 3 days after Marcus's threat, I made the mistake of working late. The independent news site's office was in a converted warehouse in the industrial district, the kind of neighborhood that emptied out after dark. I'd told myself I was being paranoid, that Marcus was just posturing, that he wouldn't actually do anything. But when I finally packed up my laptop at 9 p.m. and stepped into the rain, I knew I'd been lying to myself. His sedan was parked across the street. My breath caught. He wasn't even hiding anymore, just sitting there behind the wheel, waiting. Making sure I knew he could find me anywhere. The message was clear, no place was safe. I turned left instead of right, away from the subway station, my mind racing. He'd follow. Of course he'd follow. And in this empty neighborhood with its shuttered warehouses and absent witnesses, who would stop him? Who would question a detective escorting someone to his vehicle? My boots splashed through puddles as I walked faster. Behind me, an engine started. Headlights swept across the wet pavement, crawling along at my pace. Not passing. Just following. I broke into a run. The street blurred around me, rain hammering my face as I sprinted past loading docks and chain-link fences. His car accelerated, pulling alongside me, and I heard his voice through the open window. "Get in the car, Alina. Don't make this difficult." I cut down an alley, my laptop bag banging against my ribs. The sedan couldn't follow here, but I heard his door slam, heard his footsteps pounding after me. He was faster. Trained. I wouldn't make it. The alley spat me out onto a busier street, and my heart leapt. Cars. Traffic lights. People under awnings waiting out the rain. But before relief could settle, Marcus grabbed my arm, spinning me around. Enough. His badge was in his other hand, held high. "You're coming with me." "Help!" I shouted, but the people nearby averted their eyes. A detective. A badge. None of their business. Then I saw them, police lights reflecting off wet asphalt at the intersection ahead. An unmarked car, dark and idling, its dash lights painting the rain in red and blue. The driver's seat faced away, but I could see a silhouette behind the wheel. Another officer. Someone who didn't know Marcus, who hadn't been bought or intimidated. Someone who might actually help. The traffic light turned green. The car's brake lights glowed. It was leaving. I wrenched free from Marcus's grip with everything I had, muscle memory and desperation overriding fear. He cursed behind me, but I was already running, sprinting across the intersection through honking traffic. The police car started to roll forward. I lunged for the rear door, yanking it open and throwing myself inside. "Please," I gasped, slamming the door and locking it. "That man, he's trying to arrest me on false charges. He's corrupt. I have evidence. Please, you have to help me." The silence in the car was absolute. Slowly, the man in the driver's seat turned to face me. Dark hair. Expensive suit. Eyes like polished stone that assessed me with unsettling calm. Not a police uniform. Not a cop. My stomach plummeted as I took in the interior, leather seats, no equipment, nothing official. Through the rear window, Marcus was running toward us, badge raised, face twisted with rage. The man followed my gaze, then looked back at me with a slight smile that made my blood run cold. "Interesting timing," he said softly. "Tell me, does your detective friend know he's chasing someone into a stolen police vehicle?" The world tilted. "What?" He reached across and locked all the doors with a decisive click. "Seatbelt," he said, and the engine roared to life. "We're leaving." The car accelerated smoothly, professionally, like we weren't fleeing an enraged detective in the middle of a downpour. I twisted in my seat, watching Marcus shrink in the rear window, his mouth moving in what I assumed were curses, his badge still raised as if it could stop us through sheer authority. "Wait," I said, my voice cracking. "Stop the car. This is a mistake." Several mistakes, actually. The stranger who definitely wasn't a police officer, navigated through traffic with unnerving calm, checking mirrors, signaling lane changes like this was a casual evening drive. But we'll address them in order of urgency. Sirens wailed in the distance, multiplying. My hands found the door handle, pulled uselessly against the child lock. "Let me out." "No." The single word, delivered with such casual finality, made my chest tighten. I'd escaped Marcus only to trap myself with someone potentially worse. Someone who drove a stolen police vehicle like it was nothing remarkable. "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to keep panic from overwhelming logic. "Why do you have this car?" He glanced at me in the rearview mirror, and those dark eyes caught the glow of passing streetlights. "My name is Harvey Brown. And I have this car because I needed transportation that wouldn't attract attention for approximately 40 minutes. You've complicated that timeline considerably." Harvey Brown. The name meant nothing to me, but the way he said it, like he expected recognition, sent a chill down my spine. "You stole a police car." "Borrowed. There's a distinction." He turned onto a side street, away from the main roads where more sirens were converging. The rain hammered harder, reducing visibility to almost nothing. Though I'll admit the optics aren't favorable. This is insane. Stop the car right now or I'll. You'll what? He didn't sound threatening, just genuinely curious. Scream? Break a window? We're doing 60 miles per hour in a residential area. Your options are limited. He was right, and that realization made me want to scream anyway. I jumped from one trap into another, and this one wore an expensive suit and spoke with the measured calm of someone accustomed to control. That detective, Harvey said, his tone shifting slightly. Marcus Kane. You said he was corrupt. I hesitated, unsure if answering was wise. But what did it matter now? I was already in a stolen police car with a stranger who showed no signs of releasing me. Yes, he's part of a network. Planted evidence, false arrests, protection rackets. I've been investigating them. Something flickered across Harvey's expression, recognition, maybe amusement. And does Detective Kane know about this investigation? He found out. Which is why he was chasing you. Harvey made another turn, this one onto a darker street lined with warehouses. Tell me, journalist, how did you plan to publish this story if you're too dead or discredited to write it? The bluntness of the question stole my breath. I had a plan. Your plan involved running into traffic and diving into random vehicles. He pulled into an underground parking garage, the gate rising automatically as if he'd been expected. Forgive me if I question your strategic thinking. The car descended into darkness, fluorescent lights flickering past, and with each level deeper, my hope of escape diminished. Where are you taking me? Harvey parked in a corner spot, far from any security cameras I could see, and finally turned to face me fully. Up close, he was younger than I'd thought, mid-30s maybe, but there was something ancient in those eyes, something that had seen too much and felt too little. Somewhere we can talk, he said, about Marcus Kane, your investigation, and why you're infinitely more valuable to me alive than dead. He unlocked the doors. You can run if you'd like, but I'd recommend hearing what I have to say first. I didn't run. Not because I trusted him, but because my legs had turned to water and my journalist's instinct screamed that Harvey Brown, whoever he was, knew something about Marcus I desperately needed to understand. He gestured for me to move to the front passenger seat. When I hesitated, he added, the back seat makes you look like a hostage. The front seat makes you look like a colleague. Your choice. I climbed out on shaking legs and slid into the passenger seat, my laptop bag clutched against my chest like armor. Harvey started the engine again, pulling out of the parking spot and winding back up toward street level. We're leaving. Panic spiked fresh. You said we'd talk here. I said we'd talk. I didn't specify location. He emerged onto a different street than we'd entered from, his movements precise and practiced. Police will be checking garages near where we disappeared. We have perhaps 10 minutes before they expand their search grid. Then why not just let me go? Because I need to know if you're legitimate or if Marcus sent you. I stared at him. Send me? I literally ran from him. So it appeared. Harvey's tone remained maddeningly neutral. Or perhaps that was theater designed to get you into my vehicle. Marcus Kane has tried cleverer things. You know Marcus. It wasn't a question. Everyone in my line of work knows Detective Kane. He turned onto a main road, blending seamlessly into late-night traffic. He's been on various payrolls for 3 years. Useful for making problems disappear, evidence gets lost, witnesses reconsider their testimony. My chest tightened. Your payroll. Among others. Harvey checked his mirrors constantly, tracking every vehicle around us. Though our arrangement recently became strained. What kind of arrangement? He smiled slightly. The kind where I pay him to not notice certain activities, and he doesn't ask questions. Simple. Profitable. Until someone started investigating those activities. Understanding crashed over me like ice water. You think I'm investigating you. You're investigating a corruption network involving Marcus Kane. I am connected to Marcus Kane. Logic suggests our interests may collide. He merged onto a highway, accelerating smoothly. So tell me, journalist, what exactly have you uncovered? Every instinct screamed not to reveal my sources, my evidence. But Harvey already knew about Marcus. Already admitted to bribing him. If I wanted to survive this night, I needed him to believe I wasn't a threat or convince him I was valuable alive. Financial records, I said carefully. Bank transfers from shell companies to Marcus and 4 other detectives. Arrest reports that don't match witness statements. Evidence logs with gaps. A pattern of cases that got dismissed after suspects paid the right people. Shell companies. Harvey's expression didn't change. Whose shell companies? I don't know yet. That's what I've been trying to trace. He was quiet for a long moment, navigating through light traffic. A police cruiser passed in the opposite direction, and I held my breath, but it didn't slow or turn. Show me, Harvey said finally. What? Your laptop. Show me what you have. I clutched the bag tighter. Absolutely not. Then we have a problem. He took an exit ramp, heading into an industrial area. Because I need to know if you're a genuine threat or a useful asset, and I can't determine that based on your word alone. I could be lying about everything. You could. But you're terrified, which suggests authenticity. And you jumped into a car without checking who was inside, which suggests desperation. His eyes flicked to me. Desperate people make mistakes. I need to know if bringing you into my orbit is one of them. Into your orbit? Fear crystallized into anger. You kidnapped me. You climbed involuntarily. Because I thought you were the police. An understandable error. He pulled into an empty parking lot behind a shuttered factory. Now, show me your files or get out and take your chances with Marcus. Choose quickly. We don't have much time. I opened my laptop with trembling fingers, the screen's glow illuminating the car's interior in cold blue light. Rain drummed on the roof as I pulled up encrypted folders, my mind screaming that this was insane, that showing my evidence to a criminal was professional suicide. But Marcus already knew about my investigation. The system I'd trusted to protect me had turned predator. What did I have left to lose? Harvey leaned closer, studying the spreadsheet I'd compiled. Bank transfers, dates, amounts. His expression remained unreadable as he scrolled through months of financial records. Thornhill Consulting, he said finally, tapping one shell company name. That's mine. My stomach dropped. Yours. And Morrison Holdings. And Apex Solutions. His finger moved down the list. These 3 are my competitors' operations. The rest belong to various interests around the city. He sat back, something like respect flickering in his eyes. You've been busy. You're admitting to bribing police officers. I'm admitting to maintaining necessary business relationships. He pulled out his phone, photographing several pages before I could stop him. The question is what you plan to do with this information. Publish it. Expose everyone involved. And then what? Harvey's tone shifted, no longer assessing but almost gentle, like he was explaining something to a child. You publish, Marcus gets arrested along with his friends, and you think that's justice? It's accountability. It's a death sentence. He turned to face me fully. You don't understand what you've stumbled into, Alina. Marcus isn't some rogue cop taking bribes. He's a small piece in a network that includes prosecutors, judges, city council members. People who've built empires on keeping certain truths buried. The certainty in his voice made my skin crawl. You're trying to scare me into silence. I'm trying to keep you alive. Harvey's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned, then started the engine again. We need to move. They've expanded the search. He pulled out of the parking lot, heading deeper into the industrial district where streetlights grew sparse and buildings stood dark and abandoned. 2 years ago, Harvey said quietly, a journalist named David Chin investigated this same network. Found similar evidence, made similar connections. Very thorough, very brave. He paused. They found him in the river 3 weeks before his story was set to publish. Accidental drowning, according to the police report filed by Marcus Kane. Ice flooded my veins. You're lying. I wish I were. He turned onto a narrow street lined with warehouses. David's editor received threats. The publication was sold 6 months later. The new owners killed the story. Very clean. Very effective. Why are you telling me this? Because you have two choices. Harvey pulled up to a loading dock and stopped, leaving the engine running. Choice 1, I let you out here. You try to publish your story. Maybe you succeed before they find you. Probably you don't. Either way, you're alone against people with unlimited resources and no conscience. My hands clenched into fists. And choice 2, you work with me. I laughed, a sharp, desperate sound. Work with the criminal I'm investigating? Work with the criminal who wants the same thing you do. Harvey's expression was serious now, intense. Marcus and his network have become liabilities. They're drawing attention, getting sloppy, costing me money. I want them gone as much as you do. This is insane. This is pragmatic. He pulled up a file on his phone, documents, recordings, photographs. I have evidence you'll never access. Testimony from people who'd never talked to a journalist. Financial records that prove connections you've only guessed at. Everything you need to build an unassailable story. In exchange for what? Protection. Legitimacy. And your presence. Harvey met my eyes. You become my public companion. We're seen together, photographed together. You give me respectability while I give you access and safety. When the story is published, you have an alibi for any accusations Marcus throws at you, and I have a journalist on record confirming I cooperated with her investigation. You want me to lie about helping you. I want you to tell the truth, that you worked with a source who provided information. His smile was cold. How you characterize that source is up to you. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Harvey's phone buzzed again, more urgently. Decide now, Alina. Run alone and probably die, or accept my help and definitely survive. What's it worth to you? Everything. My story. My life. My integrity. I looked at his extended hand, offering a deal with the devil. 1 week, I heard myself say. Trial basis. If I don't like the arrangement, you walk away. No strings. Harvey's handshake was firm, final. Welcome to the other side of the truth, journalist. The sirens grew louder as he drove us into darkness, and I wondered if I'd just saved myself or signed my own death warrant. The safe house was a penthouse apartment in a building that didn't officially exist on any city map. Harvey had driven us through 3 parking garages, switched vehicles twice, and entered through a service elevator that required both a key card and a fingerprint scan. Professional paranoia, or maybe just Tuesday for someone in his line of work. Make yourself comfortable, he said, gesturing to a minimalist living room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. You'll be staying here until we determine it's safe for you to surface. Staying here. I set my laptop bag down carefully. With you. I have business to attend to. You'll have the space to yourself most of the time. He moved to a concealed panel in the wall, revealing a screen displaying security camera feeds. But you don't leave without my approval. Marcus will be watching your known associates, your usual locations. One mistake and this arrangement ends badly for both of us. He left 20 minutes later, after showing me the security system, the stocked kitchen, and the bedroom where I'd apparently be sleeping. The door locked behind him with a heavy click that sounded far too much like captivity. I waited exactly 30 seconds before opening my laptop. Harvey Brown. I typed the name into every database I could access, starting with public records and working deeper into journalism archives, international court documents, Interpol notices. The first few results were generic, businessmen, academics, no one matching the man who'd just imprisoned me in luxury. Then I found the Interpol red notice, and my blood turned to ice. Harvey James Brown. Wanted for questioning in connection with wire fraud, racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy. Countries issued: United States, United Kingdom, Switzerland, France, Monaco. The photograph was older, grainier, but unmistakably him. Those same calculating eyes, that same controlled expression. I clicked deeper, my hands shaking as articles populated the screen. The Monaco job. 3 years ago. A private art auction where 18 million in paintings vanished while security footage mysteriously corrupted. 2 guards were hospitalized with concussions. Harvey's name appeared in investigation documents as a person of interest, though charges were never filed due to insufficient evidence. Switzerland. A bank executive who'd agreed to testify about shell company transactions found dead in an apparent suicide. Harvey had been in Geneva the same week. No charges. No evidence. Just proximity and suspicion. London. A cryptocurrency exchange collapsed, taking 200 million in investor money with it. The trail led to a network of offshore accounts, and at the center, buried in corporate filings, Harvey's alias on a board of directors. France. A prosecutor who'd gotten too close to an international smuggling ring was killed in a car accident. Harvey had left Paris 2 days before. Coincidence, the report said. It's always a coincidence. I kept scrolling, my stomach churning with each revelation. This wasn't just a local criminal who bribed cops and moved money around. This was someone who operated on a global scale, who made people disappear, who'd evaded capture by 5 countries' worth of law enforcement. And I just agreed to work with him. My phone buzzed, a new number I didn't recognize. The message was brief. Found 3 more articles about your new friend. Sending links. Be careful. Sarah. The links loaded, and my screen filled with mugshots, crime scene photos, testimonies from witnesses too terrified to show their faces. A journalist in London who'd investigated Harvey's operations and retracted her story within a week, citing factual errors. A prosecutor in Paris who'd dropped his case and retired early. A federal agent in New York who'd transferred to a rural posting and refused to discuss his prior caseload. Everyone who got close to Harvey Brown either disappeared, changed their mind, or died conveniently. The apartment door's lock clicked behind me. I slammed the laptop shut, heart hammering, as Harvey walked back in carrying takeout bags. He noticed my expression immediately, his eyes moving from my face to the closed laptop with unnerving accuracy. Find anything interesting? He asked mildly, setting the food on the counter. No. The lie felt transparent as glass. Harvey smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. You're a terrible liar, Alina. It's almost endearing. He pulled out containers of food, Thai curry, the expensive kind from the restaurant downtown I could never afford. Come eat. We have a lot to discuss about how this week will work. I didn't move, couldn't move, frozen between the laptop containing evidence of his crimes and the man who'd committed them. I know what you are, I said quietly. Good. Harvey opened a container, utterly unconcerned. Then we can skip the pretense and focus on what matters, keeping you alive long enough to publish a story that serves both our interests. He held out a fork like we were friends sharing dinner instead of captor and captive dancing around a very dangerous truth. Now eat. Tomorrow, we will make our first public appearance together. You'll need your strength. I didn't sleep that night. How could I, knowing what Harvey was, what he'd done? But when morning light filtered through the penthouse windows, painting the city in shades of gold and shadow, he returned with coffee and a tablet that would change everything. You researched me, Harvey said, settling into the chair across from where I sat rigid on the couch. Fair enough. Now let me show you what I researched. He slid the tablet across the coffee table. The screen displayed a file directory so extensive it made my months of investigation look like amateur hour. Folders labeled with names, dates, operations. Years of documentation. What is this? Everything. Harvey sipped his coffee with infuriating calm. Bank records showing Marcus's payments dating back 5 years. Wire transfers from city council members to offshore accounts. Photographs of judges meeting with known criminals. Audio recordings of conversations you'd need a warrant to obtain legally, which you'll never get because the people who issue warrants are in these files. I opened the first folder with trembling hands. Marcus's name sat at the top, and beneath it, a financial history that made my compiled evidence look like scattered breadcrumbs. Deposits coinciding with dismissed cases. Payments matching dates when evidence mysteriously disappeared. A paper trail so clear, so damning, it would destroy him. How did you get this? I pay attention to my investments. Harvey leaned back. When you're funding someone's corruption, you document everything. Insurance, in case they become a liability. I scrolled deeper, my journalist's instinct overriding fear. Here was proof of everything I'd suspected and more. A network spanning the entire city's power structure. Prosecutors who buried cases. Politicians who redirected city contracts. Police captains who reassigned investigations away from certain suspects. This is Pulitzer-level documentation, I breathed. This is your life's work handed to you on a silver platter. Harvey's tone remained neutral, but I caught something beneath it, calculation, assessment. The question is whether you're willing to pay the price for access. I looked up from the screen. You said protection and presence. What else? Context. He set down his coffee. These files will destroy Marcus and his network. They'll also raise questions about how you obtained them. You'll need a source, a credible explanation for access to materials that require significant resources to acquire. You want me to say you helped me? I want you to tell a version of the truth that protects us both. Harvey pulled up another file, this one containing photographs of himself at charity galas, business conferences, city planning meetings. Him shaking hands with the mayor, laughing with tech executives, looking every inch the legitimate businessman. I've spent years building a public image. You legitimize that image by being seen with me, by treating me as a respectable source rather than a criminal informant. You want social camouflage. I want mutually beneficial collaboration. He stood, moving to the windows overlooking the city. Your story exposes corrupt officials. My reputation remains intact. Marcus and his friends go to prison. I continue operating without their increasingly sloppy interference. Everyone wins. Except for the truth about what you are. Harvey turned, and for the first time, something sharp entered his expression. The truth is flexible, Alina. You can write that I'm a concerned citizen who provided information, or you can write that I'm an international criminal who's somehow escaped prosecution in 5 countries. One version gets published and changes lives. The other gets you killed before you type the headline. He walked back to the table, pulling up one more file, David Chen's unpublished investigation, the journalist who drowned before his story ran. David tried to expose everyone. Noble. Brave. Fatal. Harvey's voice dropped. You're smarter than he was. You understand that perfect truth is useless if you're not alive to publish it. I stared at the files, at everything I dreamed of accessing, at the devil's bargain laid out in pristine documentation. How long do I have to decide? You already decided when you shook my hand. Harvey headed for the door. Tonight, you'll accompany me to a fundraiser. Wear something appropriate. The people who need to believe we're together will be watching. And if I refuse? He paused, hand on the doorknob. Then I delete these files, you leave here with your amateur research, and Marcus finds you within 48 hours. His expression softened almost imperceptibly. I'm offering you a chance to win, Alina. Don't let pride make you a martyr instead. The door closed behind him, leaving me alone with more evidence than I'd ever hoped to find and a price I wasn't sure I could afford to pay. The dress Harvey sent arrived at noon, delivered by a woman who introduced herself as Celeste and looked like she could kill someone with her perfectly manicured hands. She hung it in the closet without asking permission, then proceeded to lay out shoes, jewelry, and a small clutch purse with the efficiency of someone who'd done this many times before. He has a type, I said. I'm the elegant emerald silk that probably cost more than my monthly rent used to. He has standards. Celeste's smile was polite and utterly cold. Tonight is important. The mayor will be there, 3 city council members, the police commissioner. You need to look like you belong in his world. I'm a journalist, not an accessory. Tonight, you're both. She moved to the door, pausing to look back. A word of advice? Harvey doesn't make offers like this lightly. Whatever he's promised you, he'll deliver. But he expects the same in return. Don't embarrass him. She left before I could respond, and I was alone with the dress and the crushing weight of what I was about to do. Harvey returned at 6, wearing a tuxedo that made him look even more like old money and legitimate power. He assessed me with clinical precision, his gaze cataloging every detail of how Celeste had transformed me into someone who could stand beside him. Perfect, he said simply. We need to discuss the parameters before we leave. He gestured to the dining table, where he laid out a single sheet of paper, a contract, I realized, though not the legal kind. This is what I'm offering, Harvey began, his tone shifting to pure business. Protection. 24-hour security, that you won't see them unless there's a threat. Access to all the files I showed you, plus additional documentation I'll provide as you need it. A laptop with encrypted communication, untraceable to you or me. Introduction to sources who will speak on record about the corruption network, people who've been waiting for someone brave enough to publish their stories. He paused, letting that sink in. Financial support. Your friend Sarah's apartment is being watched. You can't go back there. I'll provide housing, a stipend sufficient to cover your expenses while you work on the story. When you're ready to publish, I'll connect you with editors at publications that can't be intimidated or bought. Your story will run, and it will have an impact. And in exchange, you become visible in my life. Harvey's expression remained neutral, but I caught something calculating beneath it. We attend events together. Fundraisers, gallery openings, business dinners. You're introduced as someone I'm seeing, someone I trust. The relationship doesn't need to be real. We're not discussing anything physical, but it needs to appear real. You want me to be your fake girlfriend. I want you to be my legitimacy. He leaned forward slightly. I've spent years building a reputation as a legitimate businessman, but there are people who suspect what I really am. Your presence changes that narrative. An investigative journalist doesn't date criminals. She might, however, date a complicated man with questionable associates who's helping her expose corruption. That's a very fine line. All the best lies are built on truth. Harvey pulled out his phone, showing me a photograph of Marcus leaving the police station. He's escalating. 3 officers were reassigned today to find you. They're calling you a person of interest in an ongoing investigation, fabricated, of course, but it gives them legal justification to search, to question your friends, to freeze what little assets you have left. My chest tightened. He's trying to eliminate me before I can publish. He's trying to discredit you so thoroughly that even if you publish, no one will believe you. Harvey set the phone down. But if you're seen with me, photographed at high-profile events, treated as respectable, that narrative collapses. You become someone with credibility, with protection, with resources. Someone Marcus can't easily destroy. And you get what? A prettier reputation. I get distance from my competitors and cover for restructuring my operations. His honesty was almost more unsettling than a lie would have been. Marcus and his network have become liabilities. They're sloppy, greedy, attracting attention that threatens my interests. Your story removes them from the board. In the chaos that follows, I consolidate power with cleaner methods, more sophisticated approaches. You're using me to eliminate competition. I'm using you to eliminate a problem we both want gone. The fact that it benefits me doesn't negate that it also saves your life and exposes real corruption. Harvey stood, adjusting his cufflinks. This isn't a fairy tale, Alina. I'm not a hero, but I'm the only chance you have to publish your story and survive the aftermath. I looked at the dress, at the evidence files still glowing on the tablet, at the man offering me everything I needed wrapped in a bargain I couldn't quite bring myself to refuse. 1-week trial, I said finally. After that, I reassess. Agreed. Harvey extended his hand. Shall we? I took it, and together we walked toward a future I couldn't predict, built on a partnership I didn't trust, chasing a truth that might consume us both. The fundraiser was held in a museum that looked like a cathedral to wealth, all marble columns and soaring ceilings where art worth more than small countries hung on walls guarded by security in tuxedos. Harvey's hand rested at the small of my back as we entered, a touch that looked protective but felt proprietary, and I forced myself not to flinch away. "Smile," he murmured. "You're supposed to be enjoying yourself." I smiled. It felt like a mask settling over my face, the first of many lies I'd tell tonight. The crowd parted for Harvey like water around a stone. People gravitated toward him with the practiced ease of those who recognized power even when it wore a charming smile. He introduced me effortlessly, Alina Thompson. She's a journalist working on something fascinating, and I watched their expressions shift from polite curiosity to genuine interest. A journalist. With Harvey Brown. The contradiction made me legitimate in their eyes, transformed me from nobody into someone worth knowing. "Harvey, darling." A woman in diamonds approached, her smile sharp as cut glass. "I didn't know you were seeing anyone." "I don't broadcast my personal life, Miranda." His hand tightened slightly on my waist. "Alina prefers to keep things private." How refreshing. Miranda's eyes assessed me like I was art she might purchase. "What are you investigating, dear?" The question was a trap. I could feel Harvey's tension, the way he waited to see if I'd learn the rules of his world quickly enough. "Municipal infrastructure corruption," I said smoothly. "Nothing that would interest anyone here." "Oh, I doubt that." Her smile widened. "We're all very civic-minded. Perhaps you should speak with Richard. He's on the City Planning Commission." She gestured across the room to where a silver-haired man laughed with the police commissioner, and my blood went cold. Richard Thornton. His name was in Harvey's files, buried in shell company transactions. "Perhaps later," Harvey interjected smoothly. "We just arrived. Let us get drinks first." He guided me away before Miranda could protest, his hand still firm against my back. When we reached the bar, he leaned close enough that his breath stirred my hair. "Well done. You're learning. That man is part of the network." I kept my voice low. "Richard Thornton. He's taken at least $2 million in kickbacks." "I know. He's also the one who can introduce you to the city auditor, who's been documenting everything." Harvey accepted champagne from the bartender, handed me a glass. "This is how it works, Alina. You smile at monsters and let them think you're harmless. Then you destroy them with what they told you over drinks." Across the room, I spotted Marcus. My entire body went rigid. He stood near the entrance in his dress uniform, badge polished, schmoozing with someone I recognized as the district attorney. His eyes scanned the crowd with predatory precision, and I knew the moment he found me because his expression transformed from professional charm to pure rage. "He's here," I whispered. "I know. I invited him." Harvey's tone was casual, unconcerned. "Or rather, the police commissioner invited him. But I made sure he'd come." "Why?" "Because he needs to see you. With me. Protected." Harvey turned us slightly, positioning himself between Marcus and me while making it look natural. "He needs to understand that you're no longer vulnerable, no longer isolated." "That touching you means answering to me." Marcus started moving toward us, his jaw tight, and panic clawed up my throat. "Harvey, trust me." He set down his champagne and took my hand, the gesture intimate and deliberate. "Dance with me." Before I could protest, he led me onto the floor where couples swayed to string quartet music. His hand found my waist, and suddenly we were close enough that I could see the calculation in his dark eyes, the way he tracked Marcus's approach in his peripheral vision. "He's going to confront us," I said.